Okay, how about now? Can you hear me now, Red Sweat? Really? Oh, that's so weird. But no Kyle. Yeah, hang on. That's my fault. It's because I have swapped over from my over the head headphones to wireless headphones, and so I just need to change what the output is. Output to headphones. Okay, there you go, Fox. You can talk now. No? Why is that not working? Okay, hang on. Let's try this again. Properties, headphones. How about headset? Let's try that. Now try Fox.
Check, check, check. Hey, check.
There we go. Okay. I literally have audio levels just like right over here. I don't know why I wasn't looking at that. Do you guys have computer audio right now? Can you hear the music? Or was it just entirely silent on this side? It was just nope, no music either. Oh, this is awesome, man.
Someday you'll just like get it right, but
Probably not.
today is not that day.
Today is not that day, but it is not this day. Computer audio. There we go. All right, now you guys hearing just some chill background music? I wonder if people were like, yeah, Logistic is saying that he thought something was wrong with his headphones. So, like, I
Got
wonder if
him.
people were like trying to adjust things for a little bit. Like, I hear nothing at all. It's in between songs right now. Just that you should be able to hear some music coming up here in a little bit.
Oh, okay. I have a good question for us to get some discussion before we start the stream.
Oh,
Let's
good, good.
talk.
I had
Let's
one
talk,
too, but let's do yours. Go ahead,
let's
because
talk about
mine
this with my
mine
wife.
might be an actual topic, which
Okay.
is, uh, are we getting nerd fatigue? Is a question that I have with all the Star Wars, with all the Marvel, with all the DC.
Yeah, that's a good topic because I could talk about that for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
Here's the question though. My wife
My
is
wife.
very is is a big fan of historical fiction. Um, and I recently I had the question. I asked her, what when is it historical fiction? Like, what is the line where it becomes historical fiction? How is that
Ooh.
defined?
Okay, because there's like the based on true events.
Oh, I meant like when is it historical fiction and not just fiction? When if a book like if it's written 100 years, if a story about 100 years ago, usually you would define that as historical fiction. But if a
Gistic
book,
says that it's all fiction. History is written by the victors, which is why,
whoa, just blew my mind.
Les Mis is so good because it was written by Victor Hugo. So
The only true history.
the only true victor.
Um, no, okay. So generally, if we think of historical fiction, let's go with an example of like I don't know. What's the show about the servants and the rich people and the
Oh,
Abbey,
Downton
Downton
Abbey,
Abbey.
but I don't think Downton Abbey. I think Downton Abbey is just fiction.
You wouldn't consider that historical fiction?
No, historical fiction is based on like a historical event. So, or like like a historical people group. So, if you wrote fiction about Queen Elizabeth, that Queen Elizabeth actually had a secret society that of people or
Oh,
whatever.
okay.
She
But
is a historical
Downton Abbey
character,
does include real people in the story sometimes.
but are they
They
main characters? Like I would say that Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter is historical fiction
interesting.
because it's a historical person and weaving in historical events,
I'm gonna look up
but
some
but
kind
it is
of
still
definition.
fiction. I would say that
Histor-
Braveheart is historical fiction. It
let's look at
includes
Goodreads historical fiction presents a story set in the past, often during a significant time period. In historical fiction, the time period is an important part of the setting and often of the story itself. Historical fiction may include fictional characters, well known historical figures, or a mixture of the two. Authors of historical fiction usually pay close attention to the details of their stories. to ensure that like settings, clothing, and dialogue to ensure that they fit the time periods.
Right.
So according to Goodreads, it doesn't have to have actual people.
But
It's
it
more
has to
about
involve
it's
like
more setting.
so yeah, it can't say like you can't just say it's 1910 and this is happening. It has to be like a significant event or
Well,
significant people of some sort. So like it's the
maybe.
Cuban Missile Crisis, and
Well,
it's
sure. There's yes,
actually
but it's
a
part of history.
right.
My question to her, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be real people, but it does matter that the historical setting is accurate and they pay attention to it. You're not just creating an alternate history or something,
Right.
where it's all just different, whatever. So my question was, is it if I wrote a book that was about whatever x whatever? Oh, what if I wrote a book from 3 years about 3 years ago? Sure, it's period accurate. Sure, maybe it has some famous people in it, whatever. It's about political things, who knows? Do we count that as historical fiction?
I think something is historical when it can't happen anymore. So or
What does
like
that mean?
or won't happen anymore. So if you're writing in the 80s and you're talking about fax machines and landlines and things like that, I think that counts as historical because those situations will not happen anymore. It will include things that our culture today is not like one to one familiar with as it was at that
Hmm.
time. Whereas if you were
Interesting.
to write something from 15 years ago with internet, high speed internet, I mean, high speed for the time, and cell phones and whatnot, I don't think that's history anymore because it is still things like the events that happen in that could just as likely happen today with all the technology and whatnot. I think there's
And
just
that
got to
seems
be a time in
that's
culture and technology where it's
it
not going
seems
to
so
happen
difficult
anymore.
to define though, because cell phones from 20 years ago are very different than they are today. I mean, if I watched Heat recently, set in the midnight. Set in the 90s. It's a
Right,
90s movie. It's not a
right.
historical fiction. It was written as like modern day. But if that were to be made today, like there are cell phones then that there and exist now. They're just very different. They're like they have guns, but those guns might be different today. Like I don't know what it seems kind of loosey goosey there. If we have to,
But then I would also say that it is meant to portray a previous time period
mm,
that in which the events could not happen today. So Heat was meant to be written. So like I would say the same thing about The Goonies is not historical because it was written about the
yeah,
80s
right.
in the
That's what I said.
80s.
Heat is not historical fiction.
Yeah.
It was not meant. Yeah, I think a big part of it is that it's about a previous time. A movie doesn't become historical fiction just because it's
Cuz
a
it's
week
old.
later. I mean, even then, you could just say, "Well, it's been a day since this movie came out. It's now
Now
historical
historical
fiction."
fiction. You know what my favorite historical fiction is? The Fast and the Furious movies.
No,
No.
technically, they're not.
No.
If you
No.
Okay, then that's a good question.
Is
What would
it?
you say? No,
If
no,
we're
no,
going off the Fast and the Furious, is it a good question?
no. Here's the question. It made me think of this. What would you say is a piece of historical fiction that portrays the most recent time that you can think of? It is you would define it as historical fiction, but it depicts the most recent time you can possibly think of.
I think I would be stretching it, but not breaking it to say that Stranger Things is historical fiction.
Mm,
That it is very important that it is the 80s. It is very important that this is during
okay,
the Cold War. It is very important that Russia is involved in everything going on.
sure.
And it's very important that a lot of like the 80s Cold War scientific testing and things like that is also going on. In the 80s, there was also a lot of talk about psychics, 70s and 80s, a lot of talk about psychics and things like that. Like all of that stuff plays into the importance of Stranger Things. So again, I think I'm stretching it. It is sci-fi tastic. It is sci-fi. I think I'm stretching it, but I don't think I'm breaking it when I say that Stranger Things could count as historical fiction.
Yeah, I think if you went to my wife and said, "Hey, Stranger Things is historical fiction," she would glare at you the force of 1,000 burning
That's because my,
suns.
my wife loves historical fiction too, but most people that I know who love historical fiction are are
just the
Victorian
worst.
era or medieval or Renaissance or something
Sure.
like that. Like that's what they want that to be, is in a time with big dresses and whatever else. Yeah, Logistic says it's the difference between Pride and Prejudice and Pride and Prejudice and Zombies,
I mean, Pride and Prejudice, they're both historical fiction.
or Pride and Prejudice versus and Zombies versus Wonder Woman 1984. The history is the point rather than it just being a setting. So wait, which one are you saying? Pride and Prejudice is Zombies, history is the point?
Those no, both of those are historical fiction.
Yeah, because I would
One,
say in Wonder Woman 1984, that the fact that it was 1984 was an important part of what's going on.
yeah, actually no, I'd agree. Thematically, it's a bad
Yeah,
movie, but thematically,
it was
like,
not a good movie, which I'm very sad about because the first Wonder Woman was spectacular, but no, it was not a good film.
yeah, it really fell apart. There are a lot of directors I think who shouldn't probably write the movies necessarily. I don't know, and that seems like one of them. She didn't. What's her name? Patty Jenkins did not write the first one, and it was great. And then she wrote the second one, and it didn't really work out.
Yeah, George Lucas is in that camp.
Zack Hack Snyder.
Zack Snyder's in that camp. Yeah,
He also
yeah.
shouldn't direct.
Hey, maybe you want grimdark Flash. I don't know.
His best movie was his first movie,
Which was
the remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, really? That was Zack Snyder? That's a good
His
movie.
his first feature. Maybe 300 also I thought was decent.
Yeah, 300 is a very good film.
This is
'cause that's what I was gonna say.
appropriate use of his style.
Yeah, absolutely. Justic says Pride and Prejudice and Zombies is historic fiction. Wonder Woman was just a setting.
I would say that, yeah, there's a lot in Wonder Woman 1984 that is just window dressing, the fashion and all that. But I
Right.
do think that Max, no, not Max. I was gonna say Max Powers. No, the
Maxwell
bad
Lord.
guy, Max Lord. I was going to say Max Powers.
Max,
That's from The Simpsons. Yeah, Maxwell Lord.
Power.
I think his portrayal as like greedy, you can do this for yourself, get what you want, that kind of like businessman, definitely I think fulfilled a kind of an 80s aesthetic to me. But yes, it
The
was
name
mostly
you want to touch. Thanks, I got it from a hairdryer.
Max Powers. That's a great episode.
It was a good episode, man.
Anyway, historical fiction's weird because
Yeah.
you can have something like Pride and Prejudice and also Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, and technically they're both historical fiction.
And see, I don't think that Pride and Prejudice is historical fiction. It was
Why
written
not?
by Jane Austen in a time when that was the way things
Oh,
were.
that must be true.
It's
Yeah,
just
I guess-
fiction. It's just
Well-
fiction. Like she wrote that about her time, and people have wanted to throw
I guess
hands.
that's true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, people have wanted to throw hands with me when I said that Jane Austen is just the Stephanie Meyer of her time. But it's fine. It's,
Well, I mean, that doesn't really make any sense.
it's hence my using and zombies version for my designation first. Yeah.
This is
Okay.
true. I didn't think about Pride and Prejudice as being written in 1813.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, are you ready to do a podcast, Fox?
I believe so.
All right. Hey, viewers, we're going to do a podcast when I remember how to spell podcast. There it is. While we're podcasting, we are not going to be interacting with the chat because we are hoping someday to be able to start syndicating this podcast again. We have not been able to do that for a while. On that note, by the way, if you would love to be able to listen to these podcasts on your podcatcher, on out and about or whatever else, consider supporting us. With your support on here, I can do this. With your support, we could start syndicating the Nerdy Gritty, and you could not have to tune in either our YouTube or Twitch to watch it. But with that being said, because on this, oh man, Justic just put in a rant. We'll get there in a second, Justic. But because of this, we're not going to be interacting with the chat. But stick around and put all your thoughts in the chat because we are going to be discussing everything that you say afterward. So literally just chat in there as if it were normal, everything were normal. And at the end of the podcast, when we finish everything up, we go back through for a post podcast and we kind of go over everything that was said and we discuss, thoughts that were brought up and things like that. So But Gistic says, yes, on nerd fatigue, particularly for average nerds myself, I have no interest in seeing any of the Marvel stuff and haven't for at least a year or two, or any superhero type character. Was super excited for all that in the beginning, but now they have to put out such mediocre content and was largely uninteresting that it's just not interesting anymore. Given I could just be getting old too, and very over the you have great potential on a special 90s drivel, and I'm done dreaming about what I'm going to become. That's fair. Yeah. Hey, Gistic, I will say I agree with you on a lot of recent Marvel stuff, that a lot of it was pretty mediocre, to mediocre plus, to mediocre minus sometimes. But watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It's spectacular. It's so good. And then watch Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I honestly think it deserves a nomination for Best Picture. It's a spectacular film in written, performed, cinematography, just the art style in it is I'm still floored by it, man. It's so good. So go watch Across the Spider-Verse as well. But Guardians of the Galaxy 3 it's a great superhero film. I'm not saying that deserves any awards or anything. It's very good. It's a return to form for Marvel. But Across the Spider-Verse is incredible. Get off my lawn. Yeah, that's fair. Okay. You ready to podcast, Fox?
Yes.
Okay, let me go ahead and do a pause here on Temusika. There we go. Okay, I got the pre-intro, which means
Sounds
you got
great.
the actual intro. Okay.
Yep. Are we doing that the thing I suggested?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
your
cool.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. In 3, 2, today in the Nerdy Gritty, cheating is rampant in competitive Pokemon video game tournaments. But should it really be considered cheating?
One more world disappears inside it. Just another hopeless addict. Well, they makes a man instead. If the drums don't get you, the guitars will.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I am your Elite Four final boss, Fox.
And I am Tehaxor's Dez.
Now this podcast is historical fiction.
Okay.
Okay.
The program they use is PokeHacks.
Yeah, that's true. PokeHex.
PokeHacks. That's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
I recently I went 2 days ago and saw the Gran Turismo movie.
Nice.
Real quick, I'll give my review. It was fine. It was a sports movie, and it became perfectly fine after it kind of was done with the gamer stuff. When everybody stopped calling each other. At one point, part of the pit crew on the main character's like racing team calls him a noob, but is serious about it, and it's just like laughable. After that, though, it just becomes stock standard sports movie. It's fine.
The
Whatever.
pit crew comes up and they're like, "You got to get good, noob. Get out there and start."
Pretty much.
Maybe save scum before you head out there.
Okay. So the point of the movie, though, if you haven't seen like the trailer or anything, the actual idea, it really wants you to know it's based on a true story. It is about a competition for Gran Turismo players, like of the video game. The best players in the world compete, and if they win the races or whatever, they get to go to Camp Gran Turismo or whatever it's called, and train to actually drive race cars. And whoever like wins that camp literally like became a member of the Nissan racing team, like an official, like real life racer. And honestly, it was pretty cool. Like learning about the true story. It's kind of awesome because that guy legitimately like went on to become an incredibly good driver.
Okay, that was my question. Is like, was he any good though? But he was good. Okay, cool. Don't give me any spoilers.
Yeah, I won't spoil it. But yes, in real life, he apparently is very good.
Nice.
Well, so it got me thinking, what other games need the Camp Gran Turismo treatment? What other games do we need to find people who then can become really good at the real life version of whatever that game depicts?
I mean, hey, we're talking about it today. It's Pokemon. Is what we need to do is just get, dog fighting, cockfighting, just get out there and find people who are just really, really good at training Pokemon. And then,
He's made Michael Vick very happy.
You got to, here's the key though. They have to bring their own team. And so these people got to get out there and they got to catch their own grizzly bear and, and horse. And it's got to be wild.
Some kind of dragon.
Yeah. You can't just buy it and get up there. That's cheating. You got to go actually catch it on your own. So yeah.
Go Pikachu. It's just like a little rat. They like spray painted yellow.
Yeah. And it's dead from all the fumes of the spray paints.
After shocking it with electricity to try to give it powers.
Go Rapidash! And the horse is just on fire.
All right, this was a mistake. I don't know why we thought it would be good.
This is a bad idea.
This is an abuse tournament. My first thought was, there's a very funny moment in the movie where, it has the classic, like, the trainer guy doesn't really think this is real or serious, or these guys are just gamers and they're not good. You can't do that. And at one point he calls, he tells to the main character, like, yeah, you're good at this, but only in the game. And then the main character says, it's not technically a game, it's a simulator.
Ooh.
It's, first of all, it's both.
Yes.
It is a game, because he legitimately calls it a game multiple times after that. Like, every time I leaned over to my friend I was watching it with and said, actually, it's a simulator? It didn't make any sense. It was a really cringeworthy moment in the movie. But anyway, thinking of simulators, I think we need to find. I want to see.
Well, hang on.
Real...
I'm going to interrupt you.
Okay.
Because technically, racing is also a game. Like
That's true.
Baseball and bat. Like it's a real life game, but it's a
just
game.
Because it's dangerous doesn't make it not a game.
Right. Yeah.
Football isn't a game if it can't be dangerous. If we're getting in the realm of simulators, you know what I want to see?
Microsoft Flight Simulator?
No. Power Wash Simulator. I want to see real life competitive power washing.
The movie would be about Fox, and it would be
I'm one of the few people in the world with the platinum trophy in Power Wash Simulator. Because there's a mode in that game where it's like timed. You have to clean the thing in a certain amount of time, or clean the thing with the least amount of water possible. I want to see that in real life. Let's get an intense 5-minute clean this car with a power washer.
But there also has to be with the least amount of damage to the object itself, because power washers wreck things, and so
they are extremely dangerous. Yes.
Here's what so I want to see what competitive power washers become at that point. Because right now we have civilian domestic power washers, but what do competitive power washers look like?
Yeah, no, I want to see that. We can combine the two after the Gran Turismo winners are done with the race. Then you get out there and you got to clean the cars.
Oh yeah,
you got to power wash the cars.
That just
you can
makes
make this a whole Olympics of gaming, real life, whatever.
Yeah,
I lost the thread there. I'm tired.
Well, hey, friend of the show, Robo Sensei, recently went to Evo. Do you know what Evo is?
Yeah, it's a fighting game tournament. Yeah,
it's a fighting game tournament in which the best fighters of the world come to compete one another. And here's what. Now I want to be clear. We are not going to put these people in an MMA ring. I don't want that.
Why not?
I want them to fight each other in real life.
Oh,
I want it to be a skinny nerd battle, a slap fest in real life, in which we train them, and then Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg style, then we put them in an MMA ring after that and see how that goes.
No, I want our friend Robo Sensei to train up and then have to fight Yoshimitsu or with Scorpion or something. Soul bad guy. I want to see that. Come on.
Oh man, that would be a wild thing to Who would it be? A cosplayer? How would you do that?
No, they'd fight. No, here's the easy way. We just make them fight Kuma, the bear from Tekken,
which is just a bear.
It's just a bear.
Hey, you know what? I don't want to see that because I like Robo Sensei. He's a good guy. He's our friend, and
Yeah, but he's only a gamer at this point. We need the real life.
he can't even say this is a simulation. Man,
It's I mean, really they're just pretending and it's pathetic. Uh I just want we should see some sports though, some real life sports. This is a little more serious. Let's get some like football players out there.
hey, real life football players probably really shouldn't be playing football. Let's
No. Yeah. I'll say if, the people I knew in college who were playing FIFA and stuff got out there, some of them did play soccer. Most of them would be destroyed. When they
okay.
got out there and playing football, they would be literally murdered.
Here's the real question though. What would actually translate? So we're joking, we're all laughing here. We don't
Sure.
want anything to actually happen. What would actually translate in the same way though? Because with racing games, you set up like you have full rigs and like full
Yeah.
screens that come around you, like the
Simulate the actual movement of the vehicle.
Yeah. You got the chair, yeah, exactly. Like that, you really get in there as much as you can. So what would translate? Flight Simulator. I bet you Microsoft Flight Simulator. You could translate that.
I honestly have spent time watching streamers who have the full on like cockpit rig, so that multiple screens they can just look out all their windows through their screens. It's so cool, and just go on flights. And yes, I do think that could translate to a certain extent in real life. Obviously, I don't think they'd be like, "Oh, you're a gamer? Well, here's your license." Like, you'd probably need some real life training, but
Like
yeah, that
um
farming simulator,
Mythbusters did
auto mechanic simulator.
have maybe auto mechanic that's a real one, auto mechanic simulator.
Oh, mechanic simulator is really fun. I've played it a bunch.
Then yeah, I think that would be a good one to translate as well, because
I
it's
have
just
changed.
knowing
I have
where
changed
things
my
are
oil. Yeah, I have changed my oil before. It's the same thing in the game. So
but yeah, Mythbusters did the whole movie thing where if a civilian gets behind in the cockpit and the tower has to tell them step by step how to land the plane, does that actually work?
airplane style.
Yeah, it does. Like
Sure.
you could actually do that, and it ends up being a safe, pretty decent landing. And when they try to do it first without any instruction, and everybody just crashed, like
Everybody
just
dies.
just dies. And then the second time they had them sit down and had like step by step through, and everybody landed the plane safely. Like obviously not perfectly, it was a bumpy landing, but like
Sure.
yeah.
And
Okay.
what's the joke in 30 Rock where what's his name, the pilot guy, Matt Damon's character, he's like, if I wasn't here, who would press the auto takeoff, autopilot, and auto landing button? Checkmate.
Oh man, so good. It's gonna be about half an hour. Uh, hey Fox, what's going on in the world of news, my friend?
You probably heard about this as a pretty big news. Gen Con took place a couple weeks ago.
I almost went.
One of the world's biggest like non-video gaming conventions, like tabletop gaming and card games and stuff.
I want to go so bad to get Lorcana stuff, man.
I think we're going to go next year because it's extremely convenient that my wife's family lives basically in Indianapolis where it takes place.
Hey, can I go with you next year?
Sure.
Okay.
I got you got to pay for it, pay for yourself,
Yeah.
but sure, sounds great. Yeah, so we might be going. But this year, I don't know if you saw, 2 people were seen on camera stealing an entire pallet's worth of card game supplies, basically. Yep. An entire pallet, over $300,000 worth of cards. From we've learned now, it's like a local gaming store or a gaming company or something that they lost an entire pallet. 2 guys just straight up on cameras, multiple video cameras, just walking out with it. It seemed very much like an impulse.
Apparently they walked up, looked at it, walked away, and then you see them again coming back like 10 minutes later with a pallet jack, and then just jacking up the pallet and walking away again. The pallet jack. And it's like I want to say who does that, who looks at a pallet and says that should be mine now, but the reality is that a lot of stupid people, and that makes me really angry. Like it makes me really frustrated that that's the reality of the world today. But Who does that? Like, who just
I
sees a
mean-
palette of card games and says, that's mine now?
Well, the real, like, wait a minute, you didn't think this through, is that at least one of the guys who are caught on camera are wearing a T-shirt of a game that really, it was like a game being presented at Gen Con. And if you didn't, like, the strong suspicion, I don't think it's been
Is that he works in the
confirmed,
booth?
is that it literally is like the creator of this game. Because those are the people that have the shirts. Nobody, you can't just buy that shirt.
Yeah.
And so basically it's just like wearing a name tag.
So do we know if they've been caught?
I don't believe they've been caught, but I'm pretty sure they know exactly who they are.
Okay,
Let me
good.
see. Yeah, I don't know if it's actually they've been found, but I'm pretty sure yeah. And at the same time, I also don't think they recognize the. Oh yeah, no, they know exactly who they are.
Oh, good, good.
2 additional photos, detectives. Yeah. Let's see.
Greg Singleton, who lives at 471.
I also think like all of that product is tagged. Like there are barcodes. Like basically, I think those things can be tracked.
Yeah.
And I think it would be very difficult to sell that stuff, especially after it's been reported as like I really, unless you open it and sell it individually, which obviously is very possible. Like it very much seems like I guess I could do that. Let's do it. And they didn't. That was the amount of time they put into it, the thought.
Because at that point, right after that, comes a thought, wait, I have a pallet worth of card games, but what am I going to do with this? Like, what is, where does this go? I live in an apartment. Where am I going to put this? Like,
yeah, there's a pallet's worth of cards out front on our lawn. Don't worry about it, though.
Well, on a brighter question mark note, a different and more amusing note is what I'll say.
Sure.
There was recently the Valorant World Championship that took place in Los Angeles. Did you hear about this?
I've heard. No, I don't know anything about it. I know that
Valorant is a very popular video game. You know that. And
Yeah.
they have world championships, and the world championship final just took place this past Saturday. I want to make sure. Let me see. Check the date on this article here. Yeah, this past Saturday, so a few days ago. And you know who was there?
Valorant players, I assume.
No, in the crowd though. Well, I guess also Valorant players, but okay, stop.
Michael
Shut
B.
up.
Jordan.
Stop it. Yes.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, you did see.
He's a
Elon
big
Musk.
fan.
Elon Musk was there.
Cool, man.
Yeah,
Okay.
Elon Musk was there because apparently his son enjoys Valorant, and so he took his son to it. And so while like in between rounds, they were kind of just showing the crowd, and they showed Elon Musk in the crowd, to which everybody started booing.
Oh, couldn't have happened to a better guy.
Everybody started booing, and then they started chanting, "Bring back Twitter." The chant, "Bring back Twitter," continued through like half a match.
Oh man.
Of course, they took the camera off of him. They didn't want to show this anymore. But the announcers were like, where's that coming from? That can't be from in here, right? That's not for him, surely. Like, so.
Oh man.
This is funny, and I like it, and it makes me laugh. But what I really liked was some of the tweets, or I guess some of the zeets, the X's that happened afterward.
Is that what they're called now? X's?
Zeets, I believe.
They're called Zeets?
Xeets. Because it's X now.
Oh my goodness. Yes, that's terrible.
Yeah, bring back Twitter. Actually, don't. Shut the whole thing down.
Who cares? Yeah.
Twitter was a hellscape. X is also that, so it's just anyway. One of them says that was actually a very sweet chant compared to all the other things they could have chanted.
That's true. They restrained themselves.
One tweet just said, "Haha, we want a new logo." But
Okay.
my favorite one is getting booed by Valorant players is like getting wedgies by the anime club in middle school.
Oh man, yeah, it's not even at a Call of Duty tournament. Not,
It's just a sick burn, man.
yeah, that's harsh. That's you really dumped him in the toilet there, man. Elon Musk, can't believe it. Just
Yeah,
he,
couldn't
I'd
have happened to
say,
a
oh,
better
that's
guy.
mean, but it's really not
No,
mean.
it's fine. Really, they said boo and bring back Twitter, and like the first tweet said, it could have been a lot worse.
It
It could
could
have
have
been
been
a
a lot
lot
worse.
worse.
Oh my god, did he tweet anything about it? Do you know?
Not that I know of. No, at least not that the
Okay,
article said. But the
because
article
usually he
was a
can't.
day
He
old.
usually
So
doesn't seem to be able to restrain himself. So
okay, now I have to figure it out. Hang on. Elon Musk Twitter account. It's just a bunch of news about him getting booed.
okay. Well, good thing is he enjoyed it because he's a free speech absolutist. So he was a big fan of them being able to express themselves in that way.
Uh, nothing that I can see about that specifically, but oh my gosh, I need to not be browsing this right now because one of his
No,
tweets says,
no, just we don't need to do this.
please note that any attempts to manipulate the creator of this program will result in account suspension.
What?
I don't know.
Let's get off. That's maybe the worst place on the internet right now.
Yeah,
So
I need to
you
not be here.
stop.
There's a lot of SpaceX stuff. Anyway, okay. Hey, we should move on.
Yeah.
before I fall far too deep into Elon Musk's Twitter. So hey,
Down the Musk hole.
down.
That was
Let's never call it that again.
That'll be the next name for Twitter.
The Musk hole. Ugh.
You really don't want to see the logo.
You ever seen Community? Their flag is. Okay. All right. Hey, should we get down the nerdy gritty?
Yes.
Let's do exactly that.
Okay.
So, in a recent Kotaku article, there was some data that were released in the 2023 World Championship of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So, to be clear, this is the Pokemon video game. This is not the Pokemon trading card game.
I mean, there are trading. The World Championship is also the trading card game as well.
But we're talking
But
about the video
we
game.
are specifically talking about the video game.
Right.
Yes.
Because there is cheating that happens in card games, but it is very real cheating, and it is very clearly cheating. This is more ambiguous, and that's what we're talking about today. So, at the 2023 Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Championship, there was the video game tournament. Now, they said that after a test was used on everybody's team, it was a rough 50-50 split of those who cheated to those who did not, meaning that literally half of the people who participated in this tournament cheated according to the rules.
Yeah.
Here's what we want to discuss today, though. The cheat that they are specifically looking about is something called PK Hex. And what this is, it is a program in which you can automatically catch
Generate.
generate and level up, or however, like manipulate, create a Pokemon. And then that Pokemon enters your party. After that, it's normal. You take that Pokemon into the tournament, into battle, and you fight. Here's the discussion that's happening right now is this number one, by the rules, this is cheating. So, I mean, we can immediately eliminate that part of the conversation.
Obviously, yes. Technically, it is a cheat.
Right.
There's not really an argument there.
Right. But the argument that most people are making is if you want a party, an optimized ideal party, you have to go find the optimized meta Pokemon, which isn't that hard. You can go find the Pokemon. But if you want to be competitive, they have to have higher stats.
Extremely specific, ridiculous, like stats that take a long time to achieve.
And when you first catch them, it can be random. And therefore, maybe this Pokemon's attack is lower than another one of that level, and therefore you wouldn't want this one. You don't want to get a different
Right.
one.
Right.
And so the amount of randomness and luck involved in being competitive. So part that does not have anything to do with the actual skill level of the player itself is a large part of creating a team.
Yes.
And so what Pokehex has done is allowed you to say you can just create a Gengar with these attacks and, you know,
With these EVs
stats.
and IVs. Yeah.
Right. So what we kind of want to talk about today is when it comes to randomness in video games, and when it comes to, I think this in particular, do we think this should count as cheating? Do we think that getting lucky to this extent is a part of, I mean, even, do we think that this should be counted as cheating? Because I was going to get into, part of the topic there. But before we get into the full discussion here,
Sure.
Initial reactions. What do you think overall, Fox? What are your thoughts on this? What do you think of this type of cheating in Pokehex?
Neither of us play Pokemon really at all in any form. Definitely not competitively.
No, I would play the games,
so-
and we beat the games.
I haven't played Pokemon in a while, but
Sword and Shield was my last.
yeah, same. But so that's to say is like I don't have any skin in the game. I don't know really the extent of what it takes to create a competitive team. But so with that being said, I would personally say, yeah, this feels like you're not actually playing the game. Like, here is the game as presented, and maybe it's just a sign that Pokemon needs, like, the games themselves need to be different or aren't as, you know, that like Game Freak needs to fix it or whatever. But if people want to skip most of the game to be able to compete, then that's a pretty big sign. But at the end of the day, it feels to me like this is how the game works, and you just don't want to play it. You just want to compete. I don't know. I think it is cheating even beyond just the like. I think it is kind of going against the spirit of the game to me. It's the same thing I would say about Magic. I don't hate deck building. I like deck building. I like playing against people. But I have in the past went to just a Friday Night Magic tournament with my deck that I built from cards I pulled from packs, and it's fine, it's fun, but then just get utterly destroyed by the people who are willing to spend X amount of dollars for that uber deck, the alpha predator deck that's just going
meta
to
deck
wreck.
that's
Yeah.
$400 and net decked entirely. Just
Sure.
you look online and build the list. Yeah.
Right. So I have chosen personally to never do that again. The only thing I will do is if I'm playing competitively at all and not just casual, I will go to a a draft or a sealed tournament kind of thing where everybody is on the same foot. Everybody has to build from the cards that they pull from random packs. And in fact, the last time we did this was for pre-release for Lord of the Rings, and I actually beat somebody who definitely would destroy me otherwise.
You played well.
I had a decent deck, and it just happened to be a little better than what they were able to pull. And to me, that's similar to this, where it kind of goes against the spirit of the game, because the game itself has randomness involved in it. And if you want to remove that, at the very least, create a different a different category to me.
Category. Yeah. That's a really good idea, actually. That would help answer a lot of things, similar to what we talked about when we were talking about Midjourney and AI art.
Yes.
Just create a different category for that. It is still art. Yeah. There is still a skill set in there, but here's where I'm torn.
Yeah.
You say it's part of the game. It kind of isn't. Not the competition, at least. What's part of the competition is putting your team against another team, and there's the meta of being able to beat them. So at this point, it becomes less about how good you are with the Pokemon you have and how you're able to outsmart your opponent. And it becomes a lot more about, were you able to find the right Pokemon who has the most free time? If you have a full-time
Yes.
job, uh, chances are you can't spend 15 hours a day, maybe not a day, 7 hours a day grinding to find the perfect Pokemon
Yeah,
exactly how you want it.
pimping that Ditto out at the daycare.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're, 19 years old, living with your parents, and
You're a successful streamer.
yeah, and you got nothing to do other than that,
That
exact,
is
just
literally
exclusively
your
that,
job.
the chances of you being better in the tournament is significantly higher. Not because you are better, because you have more time to raise your chances. At this point, it becomes, let's pretend it's a sealed tournament, like you were talking about in Magic the Gathering. One person has more finances to buy more booster packs.
Right. They have the resources to be able to
And
compete
so
at
now
a
they
higher
have
level.
more booster packs to pull from. It's still random. It's still random just like yours, but their chances of pulling good things are so much higher because they have so much more available to them.
Yeah.
Whereas those who have less time, it's not going to work that way. Or if we go into like actual sports competitions, I guess physical sports competitions, I should say, um, there's farm teams where there's single A, double A, triple A. If we're talking about baseball, there's farm teams of farm teams of farm teams. You are cultivating these players specifically and individually from the very, very beginning. Whereas if you had to rely on randomness and time of scouts just bouncing around from team to team around the country, hoping to find a great player, that would be so much more difficult to be able to put together a solid professional team. So I think that, and again, I'm torn. You're right. Isn't that also part of the game though? Like just being able to put that amount of effort into it.
I
But
mean, here's the
go ahead.
thing. The I think this all hinges upon, like, this is all true if we have to have Pokemon at the level it is right now. Really, if it, really the goal is just everybody should be on the same foot, on the same like resources and all that to play. Because if everybody's just down, of like, if competitive play is just more open and available to people, then, like, I don't know, it's we are saying that somebody who can't spend the time creating the or finding and doing these through the legitimate means of the game, then they can't compete. But if the competition level is changed, then they can. We just have an expectation of a certain thing now. It's, it's in Magic. If we were to say competition is 3 turn wins, well, okay, yes, somebody who can't have that doesn't have the money to create a deck with a 3 turn win can't compete. But if nobody has the ability to do that, then the competition is just changed, and it's still as fun to watch, but it doesn't, like, it's just, I think we have to recognize that we are using a definition of competitive play that hinges upon the ability to cheat like this. This is how we got here, is having half of the players being able to use this program. If that weren't the case, it would just change the competition, not necessarily be worse.
I do also want to say, as I'm browsing through here, it was about 17% of the Pokemon, about 50% of players, about 17% of Pokemon specifically.
Oh,
So for a
okay.
lot of the teams, it was only like one Pokemon on their team. They
Sure.
needed, they have cultivated 5 of their team of 6, right? Team of 6 or a team of 4? Team of 6.
6.
Yeah. 5 of their team of 6, but they could not, as much as they could not get that last one to round it out to be competitive enough. And so they just went in and they hacked it, and they made sure to get that last competitive one.
It's okay. My baseball team only has one person using steroids.
uh,
All the only person I have on my team using steroids is Guire. It's fine.
I don't think that's the same thing because
I think it's pretty similar that you're using against the rules, and as a baseball player yourself, or baseball fan, you would say against the spirit of the game. And I think that's similar to this, where here's the game, and it is within the spirit to be a trainer in the game, but these people are not training all their Pokemon. They're training maybe some, and then just like going to the dark web to buy another one.
But I think that maybe it is more alike than I want to admit that it is, because as I'm sitting here, I was going to be like, because I was going to say that this isn't like this Pokemon, raising the Pokemon isn't part of the sport. The sport is the competition itself, but training for baseball also isn't part of the sport. It's playing the game that is the actual sport, you know? Yeah. So
practice isn't part of the MLB, official competition, but the games are, and that's where the practice matters.
I just, the problem is so much is left to randomness otherwise, because at this point, again, in these sort, and I like your idea about saying, create different competitions, but then I think, okay, here's what I'll say it is. Steroids does not then make you require higher skill still. Steroids can make what would have been a base hit turn into a home run. No matter how good you are at the game, one or the other, it just makes your base hit turn into a home run. Whereas in this, it's not making your Pokemon win more or hit harder. It's making you able to compete. It makes it not even on the skill area. It makes it even on the ability to compete at all area.
Yeah, that is a significant difference, that these Pokemon are not juicing. The trainer is juicing the process.
and
not
so
the actual Pokemon.
It's like, to me, the struggle becomes when you can't compete at all if you don't get lucky enough. That's it.
Or don't have the time to just brute force it.
Right. And so it comes to luck or the amount of time you have, and neither of those things are this sport or this competition. It is not a luck, time, and Pokemon competition. It's a Pokemon competition. And when you just say it has to be cultivated teams, because it is a game that luck plays such a high percentage in it, all of a sudden you are taking away from the skill side of it and putting so much more onto the luck side of it. I think you're convincing me, though. As true as that is, that's just going to be the reality. You just have to say, yeah, you're right. That's correct. People who spend more time practicing their sport's going to be better at it. That's what it is. If you want to be a competitive disc golfer, you have to spend a crap ton of time disc golfing.
Yeah, you don't get to complain that you weren't able to join the tournament because you didn't win the qualifier, or like, unless there are something like, some kind of cheating involved. That's just how it shakes out. That's how competitions work. But I do think we can talk about this. Like I think we both agree it's not exactly the same as cheating as you would typically determine it.
Right.
But it is, technically against the rules, and also I would say against the spirit of the whole concept of Pokemon from the start of the games, with the shows, with whatever. You are a trainer. You are finding Pokemon, building a team, and if you're just moneyballing it at this point. Like,
you're the opposite of moneyballing it. Moneyballing is when you don't have a lot of money or time, and you are therefore just trying to play the statistics of it. You are Yankeesing it. You're just going out and just spending all the money to get exactly what you want. Yeah.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Okay. I think I agree with you on that. So let's kind of shift gears here a little bit, because there's something else in the article that I thought was really, really interesting that also challenging. Of the Japanese teams, there were 220 teams and 12 of them were hacked.
Okay.
Of the Chinese teams, there were 232 teams, 12 of them were hacked. Of the Chinese teams, there were 25 and 12 were hacked.
Wow.
Of the English teams, there were over 500 teams and 282 of them were hacked. 47% of the 53% of the English teams were hacked. Of the Chinese teams, there were 38 teams and 34 of them were hacked. There were 13 German, 11 were hacked.
Man,
There were 30 Spanish and 27 were hacked. There were 5 Italian and 5 were hacked, and there were 3 Korean and 3 were hacked.
wow.
All this to bring to the question that Japan is out here bringing a 95% legal team. Is there some
95% of the teams are legal?
right? Is there something in there where they could just now saying, "Hey, it's the Japanese championship. That's it."
Well, they could for sure.
Because if they can say we are pretty confident that 95% of our Pokemon are legal, then but if we bring in other people, all of a sudden it becomes 54.9% of Pokemon are legal, then like is there any reason there to be able to just stop and say, you know what, we don't want to make this a world competition anymore?
I mean, it's not. I mean, it seems as though it's fairly easy to find out. Just submit your team first. Like, it doesn't seem like it'd be difficult to just, weed out the people who have hacked teams. Just do whatever they did to find this info before.
That's a good point. I wonder because
they do the check and then you walk on stage and battle. Like it doesn't seem like they have to. I don't know how difficult it is to find this information. I wouldn't imagine it's too difficult, considering it's just determining from the data that you submit or whatever. They just weed out people who are cheating.
Why don't they do that? I wonder. Okay, so I'm wondering if this point, if kind of like steroids in other sports, like in basketball and football and whatnot, they say, "Hey, that's illegal," and then they never really check for it or care about it, or because they know everybody's doing it anyway. Because
Maybe.
they could do that. They could just say, "Hey," because this is just a program, right? I'm guessing you can just plug in teams to this program and it'll spit out, "Hey, this guy has been poke hacked."
Possibly, I would assume. I don't know. This is a particular. Let's see, who is this?
Then you could just take them to the semifinals.
Oh, okay. This is important. This tweet with this information is from the creator of PokeHex. This is the person specifically who created the save editor PKHex.
Weird.
And doing checks on people. And so I'm assuming that they are not doing official, world championship things.
Right.
But if they can do this, why doesn't Pokemon just hire them?
And so this is my point. I bet you that Pokemon officially says it's cheating, but literally are like, "Look, man, we don't care. Like, everybody's going to cheat. 55% of the Pokemon in this are going to be hacked Pokemon. Whatever. It's fine. Just come. We care more about the competition than about how these things got here."
Yeah, this article doesn't say anything about teams being disqualified or anything, as far as I can tell. Yeah, sure. Especially since, as we've discussed, it's not about the competition is the battle, not the finding and training of Pokemon.
Right.
So
right.
Let's talk about, sure, they could just probably just disqualify people who are cheating and just you can't play anymore. But how could they? That would be a pretty big uproar, considering there's so many people who do cheat. And so how do we fix this? What should next year's World Championship look like if we want to address this issue?
Personally, I say you lean into it a little bit and you say you get one hacked Pokemon. You get one hacked Pokemon. We're checking ahead
as a treat.
We're testing because it seemed like on average it was 1 to 2 per team, and if you just say none at all, I think you're going to get a lot of people that are like, then it's impossible for me. Then I literally don't have the time to. I literally don't have the ability to. It's not about how good I am at this game. It's about how much time and luck that I have, and I don't have that. Whereas if you give them one leeway, if you give them one pat on the head, I think that would help a lot for a lot of people.
Sure, sure. If you want to, I do think just create a different category: hacked versus non-hacked. It's two different categories of competition,
Man,
and you can only join one. You can only be in one of them.
yeah, I just that not and you're right. You're right. That would fix it. That would take care of it. I fear, and this wouldn't be a bad thing. Uh, I think this would just make it very, very different. I think it would make the not hacked category a ton of professional streamers or 20 somethings with no job, like
Sure.
I think it would just immediately become much more about who has the time rather than who has the ability.
In that tournament, yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I guess that's
It's
true.
like I've been saying all along. We should have a separate Olympics for people who are allowed to use steroids.
Steroids can kill you.
Yeah, and if they're willing to,
Pokehacks doesn't. So
if they're willing to risk that, they can have their own tournament, and we can truly see what the human body can achieve.
the human body with lots and lots of drugs can achieve.
Yeah, no, I'm not even saying just like I'm saying like full cyberpunk body modification.
Okay. Well, that's a whole different topic.
Nah, I want to see it happen. I'd watch that more than I'd watch the Olympics.
I know you would, man. Hey, okay, we're on this topic already.
Let's see people do the high jump when they can literally double jump.
But just a side note here. Flying disc sports was submitted to the Summer Olympics recently and did not make it, meaning that this sport was not considered worldwide popular enough to become a Olympic sport. That included ultimate frisbee and disc golf. But like sprint is a sport, not the running one, the one where it's like a super steep track and guys ride a bicycle around it in circles.
Oh yeah, sure.
Or like there's such weird obscure sports in here that have made it but not.
Well, I wonder if
golf?
that's because they've been there for a long time. Like I wonder if they get grandfathered in because they've been a part of competition for.
I think every Olympics they should see which ones were most participated in and least participated in and just take some out and add some new ones in.
I mean, they do shift it every year. Like there is a. It's not just a like every 4 years.
I want Olympic disc golf.
I want Olympic hacky sack.
Okay. Overall, okay, final thoughts on this is I think that this is a weird gray area of it is not impacting the actual competition that it wants to be done. You are not putting these Pokemon beyond their natural ability. You are not, whatever else. Like, because if we're talking about steroids, these people are getting beyond their natural ability, but you're not doing this with these Pokemon. You are not, inflating them to an artificial extent or whatever else. You're basically just speeding up the time frame on this. You're basically just, putting the odds ever in your favor.
You're just buying singles from your local LGS.
You're buying singles from your local LGS. It's exactly
instead of boosters.
Exactly that. And so I think that to make tournaments in which, again, if we're going to go with the TCG, where you say, okay, this one is only what you're able to pull from booster packs, then it makes who's willing to spend the most on booster packs, not who pulls the best stuff. And I think that's going to be the same thing. If we just say it's only what Pokemon you can get in game, then it becomes who can spend the most time playing the game, not who can actually, play and compete the most successfully.
Oh, I just had an idea, a brilliant idea. What if the tournament is you have 1 hour to play the game, you have the whole game unlocked, you can go anywhere in the game. 1 hour to play, whatever you can catch and train in that time is your team.
That would be bonkers.
it eliminates the time requirement. It's essentially a pre-release, like a draft, like whatever you get in that time you then put in your team, and you
I
may
want
get
that to be a
lucky.
real
Sure,
thing. I want
I think
that to
that
be a thing.
that should be a thing. Yeah,
Because then you get people who are going out and they're like, okay, I'm going to get the very first Pikachu I can find, and then I'm going to run out and I'm going to fight stronger water type Pokemon. And then I'm going to take those water Pokemon and I'm going to find
however you want to
stronger
dedicate your
earth type
time.
Pokemon. And then you just
Sure.
keep like climbing up and oh, it's like the
but you
bigger and
have
better.
1 hour. You have 1 hour.
Interesting. I'd watch that. But overall, I think that this is I think this is gonna be an issue like a lot of the baseball talk, where what we're really talking about is the purity of the game,
The spirit of the game.
and the spirit of the game. And when you cling to the spirit of the game in this way, it ends up dying, and ends up becoming not enjoyable anymore.
I don't think Pokemon is going to die in the same way that MLB is at risk of doing. But yes,
Hey,
I agree.
The MLB is 150 years old now, I think. 150 years of Pokemon. I would not be surprised if it's dying.
You know what? That's a good point. You got me there. But yes, I agree. If you hold on to it too tightly, it doesn't allow for evolution, pun intended, or just like the new people want to play it differently. You got to kind of cater to that a little bit. It's a weird line to walk, but kind of have to, or it's just going to fall apart. And I'm sure they want to keep making money off of it. So
yeah, I think we can both agree though that the organization itself needs to come down with a hard line and stick to it. So if they don't want cheaters, they need to be the one testing for it, not the PokeHacks guys after the fact. They need to be the one testing for it.
This was just like a curiosity thing. It seems like let's find out.
Yeah. All right. Fox, what have you been up to lately, my friend?
It's been a while since we've done a podcast.
It's been a while since I've gone things up just like I always do. Stained? 90s band? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
That's a band. So I watched The Bear.
Oh yeah, man, I need to watch that.
Television show called The Bear. It's on
I really
Hulu.
need to watch that. Yeah.
It is one of the best shows I've ever seen. It is a very simple premise, or a short synopsis. Carmen, one of the greatest chefs in the world, super young, just like incredibly good chef, world's best restaurants, things like that. His brother dies and leaves the family restaurant to him. This like classic local, Chicago, sandwich place. And so the show is at the beginning, it evolves. It starts as this, ultra chef coming to this local sandwich spot. And
I'd watch that anime.
Basically, I mean, it reminded
Ultra
me
Chef.
No, it's called Food Wars, and that's not a joke. Watch Food Wars.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I like Food Wars. It's fun. But no, so it's just about him coming to his family spot. I mean, it's about the restaurant and like creating that restaurant and the workers, the staff there, but also the family drama. It's extremely good, like just to watch and like the fun drama, but also this might be the first example of a show that I've seen that I think is clearly influenced by Ted Lasso.
Oh.
The whole Ted Lasso idea of, still drama, you still have conflict, you still have plots, but there's a lot of interpersonal drama, there's a lot of and things get resolved in some ways and things are peaceful in some, it's not always just screaming, although there's a lot of screaming in the show. Don't there's a lot of screaming in the show. It's about a restaurant.
Yes, chef.
Culture. Yes, a lot of that. And just screaming at each other because they're loud and don't know how to emotionally, mature emotional output doesn't really work. Anyway, but the show does evolve. There are several episodes in the second season that technically aren't part of the plot really, but they're just kind of about character growth. And you get some like it's so good. I was so sad that there was not like they're continuing the show, but I just want more of it, and I want more of it, and it's very good. please watch The Bear. Please watch it so that more people they'll make money off of it and see that it's popular and keep it going because it's very.
Is it also relentlessly positive like Ted Lasso?
No.
Wow.
No, there's
No.
there's a lot of trauma that people undergo. There's a lot of, but people do evolve from it. People um recognize it and deal with it in a mature way in some cases. It's really great. There's a lot of good personal character growth, and it's just so fun to watch because you're just so happy these people are kind of overcoming and finding their place, that they like are able to thrive. It's really
I also watched a TV show called Jury Duty. Have you heard of
hmm.
this?
I've heard of it. I don't know anything about it.
So, Jury Duty is a documentary about a jury, and the documentarians are able to be in the courtroom, going behind the scenes with the jury, being able to talk to them in between, like in the hotel rooms and everything like that.
Huh.
Oh, also, it's 100% fake,
Okay.
except for one guy. One guy
Wait, what?
does not know this is a reality TV show.
That sounds okay. I need to watch this. Where is this? What show is this?
Oh,
Show
on
this?
Amazon. It's called Jury
Oh,
Duty. It's
okay.
on Amazon. At least that's what we watched it on. I
Yeah, we
think
don't
it's
have
also on.
Amazon.
I think it's also on Freevee if you want to watch it with
All right.
commercials.
All
But
right.
so, it is. There's some ridiculousness to it, but in a really fun way. James Marsden.
Yeah.
James Marsden is in it as himself, uh, as James Marsden, who got called in for jury duty,
That's
and
awesome.
and when it was pitched to me, it was pitched as a wonderful show that they treat this guy so awesome, like they make him feel so good. It is like gives you hope for humanity type show. I did not get that from this show.
Oh, really?
It was pitched to me as like a Ted Lasso type substitute that's just so delightful and relentlessly positive and wonderful that it's something that you really just, you got to see it. It was not that for me. It was very funny. It's very worth watching. It's really enjoyable. It's really, really funny, really good. Also ridiculous. Very ridiculous.
Hmm. Okay.
I am not the biggest fan of reality TV though. So we have to do that. Like that has to be a part of this where when it comes to real life people being put in absolutely ridiculous scenarios and we're supposed to watch them and laugh at them, that's not my favorite thing.
Sure. Yeah.
And so that is not the most like enjoyable thing to me. So that it wasn't bad. I just want to be clear. I'm not saying it was bad. It was really good. Let me be clear. It was hilarious. It was so much fun. It was really good. The ending is actually really positive and really delightful. This guy is not made to be a fool or anything like that at any point. This guy, he is treated really well, and he is put in like a leadership position, and the dude crushes it. He's a really cool, kind guy, and like he treats everybody else really awesome. The way that he befriends James Marsden is really funny, and and also sticks up to people when they need to be stuck up to, and things like that. Like he's a really good guy, and they make sure to portray this guy as a really good guy, and so it's cool. It's really fun to watch. I really enjoyed it. I did not find it to be the absolutely relentlessly positive joy fest that other people did, but it is very good. It's super funny. A lot of ridiculous situations. They do a very good job of like just getting on that line of too ridiculous. And so more than once this guy says, I feel like I'm on a reality TV show, but he never actually suspects. And
That's funny.
So they do a really good job of kind of balancing that. So Jury Duty, yeah, it's on Freevee, so you can watch it. It's worth the watch. It really is.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably watch that. I watched for whatever reason, I just had an impulse. I watched Heart of Stone. It's a Netflix original action movie
Oh, was that
starring
with Gal Gadot?
Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some others. It was fine. It was an interesting premise. It's about, it starts with this like team from MI6 doing an operation trying to capture this bad guy, whatever. and in the middle of it, you find out that Gal Gadot is actually undercover working for an even more secret organization who does their own things. And there's some interesting action, I guess. Like a lot of it is forgettable, and but I mean it's less bad than other. I That's how I'll describe it. It's less bad than other Netflix original action movies. Um, but really, at the end of the day, like a lot of it felt like, why is this? Why is this a thing? Why is this like a lot of the world building felt very world buildy and not just natural, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it just kind of came off as okay, this was this was an action movie and not an interesting depiction of it. I don't know. It was pretty forgettable. There's not even much to talk about. Gal Gadot does better in it than other things I've seen her in post Wonder Woman. Um, so there's other actors that I think are again. A lot of it, a lot of my it was fine.
Yeah.
It didn't make me want to keep watching.
Well, I was going to say that Netflix action movies I've seen that have a famous star have pretty much all landed in that camp of being fine. So, Extraction, The Gray Man, there's a ton of different ones, and they're all fine. And they're
I would say Extraction and Extraction 2 are the
yeah, Extraction was pretty good. I haven't watched Extraction 2 yet. I want to watch it. But just all this to say that, like, if you like action movies and you have nothing to do, they're worth watching. They're worth sitting down and enjoying and seeing if they're, having fun with it and then never thinking about it again.
and if you've already watched all the other better action movies on Netflix, there's always going to be a better one to watch. But if it's not available to you on a service you have, then sure, yes,
Yeah.
I'll agree.
Yeah.
There are worse things you could do.
Well, I started playing a game called Death's Door. Death's Door is the PS Plus, one of the free games this month, and so this is a top-down kind of. It's got like a dungeon crawl feel. It's people have compared it to a Souls-like. It's not. Only in as much as it's difficult sometimes, and
Yeah,
it's much more like Tunic. If you ever played Tunic, it's a lot like Tunic, but without the ARG in there, like the really
not
deep,
the
ridiculous
mystery part of it.
yeah,
Yeah,
mystery. It's really good. It's super fun, and it was one of those where I'm like, you know what, I'll just play it because I have we do Magical Mondays here where we just do a casual stream every Monday, and I had nothing else to play. I was like, I'll just play it until we think of something else to play, and I played it, and I'm like, wait, I'm really enjoying this. Actually, I'm kind of really into this, and so. It's one that I'm going to keep playing for a while. Again, if you liked Tunic, the gameplay feels really similar. I will say that the combat is tighter in this than in Tunic for me. Combat was the least good thing in Tunic, in my opinion.
I agree.
And so it feels much smoother in this, and there's a lot of like strength upgrades and things like that you can get. So really fun. A lot of fun characters that I like doing voices for. Death's Door, again, it's free if you have PS Plus. I recommend it. It's a good game.
I literally last night this morning finally got the platinum trophy on Cyberpunk 2077.
Wow. How long did that take you?
Well, I started
Gameplay
playing
hours.
it gameplay hours. If I what was it? 50, 60?
Oh, okay.
It's
So
not
not
super
that bad
long.
at
To
all.
get the platinum, it's not. There's more I could have done, like more side quests and
Right,
stuff.
right.
But after, like, here's what I'll say: Cyberpunk, it started off. They did not launch very well. It had a lot of bugs. I actually saw more bugs, like in the last month or two when I really got back into it than I did when I first started playing it. Playing on PS5.
Yeah, same.
Uh, yeah, so yeah, it was the most optimized version. But Cyberpunk, really story wise, really picks up halfway through. It starts off kind of slow. As I was very disappointed by like I played it and probably got halfway through the story and really didn't feel like. I mean, obviously there's a lot of cyberpunk elements, but they didn't really do a lot thematically with the ideas of the soul and
Mm-hmm.
humanity
Mm-hmm.
and machinery and all of that you would see in something like this until about halfway through when you and Johnny Silverhand, who in the game, played by Keanu Reeves, is essentially you and him are competing for your body.
Oh,
He is a digital construct at this point. He died 50 years ago, but they call it soul, but his like engram, his
right.
personality was put onto a chip, and you get you get it inserted into you, and it basically starts to take over. And you talk to him. He is like visually in the game. Nobody else can see him, and the game is basically about you trying to figure it out, try to fix the problem, get it out of you because it's damaging you and it can't be taken out with just immediately instant death. And so once that like relationship between you and Johnny Silverhand become like there's a point where you kind of actually genuinely have a like friendship, which can still go in lots of directions, but it becomes super interesting when you actually start to like care about each other and like
Yeah.
know each other. And
Yeah.
the first half of the game you're combative, or it's just not part of it, whatever, like, and it's just less interesting. Plus there's like major side quest lines about specific side characters that are also very good. Those are the interesting. Cyberpunk as like combat and all that is whatever. I don't really care. Like, it was fine. It was, you know, you have a build, you use guns, you shoot people. That's all whatever. The actual storytelling, once you get into the game and get into some things that take a while to get to, then it really shines. Like, they tell some really interesting stories about the people you come across and how you're able to help them or hurt them, or, you know, and you have the decision to keep, you know, delete Johnny, or to give him your body, or to find a some kind of, you know, halfway point, you know, some kind of compromise. Like, you make some pretty, like, the endings of the game are the best part of it.
Mm,
Anyway, so I'm really glad I stuck through and like finished it and really put
nice.
in the time, but it took too long to get there, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like the classic, like, watch the first season of the show, it's going to be bad, but then just go to the,
Yes.
you'll get like, yeah, that's rough.
Yes. Exactly.
I wanted to spend the last bit here to talk about Lorcana
Oh, right.
and how
Yeah.
much I love
We
this
can't tell it
game.
at all. That's too shiny.
That's Stitch.
Can't tell.
They can see the camera. That's for me is bad. For that you see
Oh,
for me, the camera that they
I
have for me is good.
gotcha.
Um, but hey, I've gotten deep into Lorcana to the point that I literally walked by the Lord of the Rings booster packs the other day, and I literally said, "Oh yeah, I forgot about these." Like, I was like, "Oh hey, remember when we were collecting all the Lord of the Rings stuff? Wow."
When you were, I
Oh, that's
am
true.
still.
Yeah, when I had a booster box and a collector's booster box of it. But now I'm deep in Lorcana because here's the reality: it's super fun. It's
Cool.
it's a so in Pokemon, if you ever played the Pokemon card game, there's no cost to anything. There are some requirements to be able to play cards as much as if you have this many cards in your hand, or if you have this Pokemon in play, or if and thens. But other than that, you just do whatever the card says.
Sure. Yeah.
And so there are a ton of cards that are like, and draw more cards, or go search for this card, or whatever else. And so combos are high in that game, and it happens really quickly, and it feels very, it's not simple, but it feels very easy. In Magic, on the other hand, it is high limitation. You have to have the right color and the right amount of mana, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to have the right synergies for it to be successful. I think Lorcana fits really well right in the middle,
Oh,
where it
cool.
has this resource thing where you can just put out one resource per turn. There are some cards that let you ramp that, go a little bit faster, but for the most part, you put out one resource per turn. Everything has the same cost of resource, and you can only get two colors in each deck, though, and you're trying to build synergies between these two colors. And I've built 3 decks so far with the 6 different colors, and they all play very differently, and I can see them bringing out more colors in the future. But for now, you have, with 6 colors, it's like, what, a dozen different options for combinations, something like that, which is plenty of variety. And then even in the color combinations, there's different styles of play you can go within each color. And like blue is both items and ramp and, you know, a few other things. And so there's just like a lot of variability in this now. I'm
Does
sure
it
it's going
have to be two colors, or can it be a solo?
has to be two, no more, no
Oh,
less than two.
okay.
Yeah. And so it makes it easy enough that my whole family, including my wife, plays the game. We love it. All five of
Cool.
us are into this game, but it makes it complicated enough that for players like myself and my son who love high strategy games, we so love it as well. So it's this really accessible, really fun game that sits right in the middle of all these things. I could absolutely see it being one like Pokemon, where you're a 40-year-old man sitting across from a 12-year-old girl and she ends up working you, you know, like it's going to be one of those games. And so I love that. And it's a lot of fun. So props to Lorcana. I think Disney did a great job with this game.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll have to come over or come hang out at the shop or something and play a match with you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Cool.
Well, that's all I got.
Yeah, same here.
Well then, hey, we just want to say thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out with us before and after the stream. We want to say a big thank you to Granger for the intro and outro of our theme song. Is their new album dropped yet? They've got like 3 or 4 songs that have come out.
I don't think they've announced an album. I think they're just putting out some new tracks.
Singles. Cool.
Yeah.
They got some new tracks. You can go check them out on YouTube, Granger Band or something like that. Dang it, I can't remember. But they got good music, and we like them. So thanks, Granger.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, there are ways you can support. This is of Steve's what would you call it?
It's
Ministry.
a nonprofit. Yeah.
Nonprofit. Yeah, it's called Save Point. And there are ways you can support Save Point if you feel so inclined. One of those is by subscribing to his Twitch channel. You could do that if you're watching this right now. You can do that right now. The more effective way, if you want to support Save Point, would be to go to savepointmin.com.
SavePointMinistries.com.
SavePointMinistries.com.
Or you can follow the links that are in the chat right now.
There you go. It's that simple. You can go there and subscribe directly. More benefit to Steve on that one. But either way, or if you just want to watch and participate in the chat or tell a friend or whatever, in whatever capacity, we really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, guys. We appreciate you all being here today. Oh, a big thank you to Rise Lazarus for the follow while we were podcasting. We appreciate you, Rise Lazarus. Thank you to all of you guys who are following and subscribing. You guys are all awesome. Make sure you comment. Let us know what's going on. Check out our YouTube channel. But we're going to be heading out here. Always remember that saved games save lives.
Bye.
All right, we're back. Fox had to step out real quick. So you get a wonderful shot of his guest bedroom with a bunch of stuff on it. That's real cool. But hey, we're going to go ahead and go through our chat here like we've been talking about for a while. So we've got, Gistic, Real World Pokemon just got really dark. Yeah. Nobody, like never in the Pokemon history has anybody ever in-game stopped to say, hey, we're making these animals fight each other. Is this okay? Like in the Pokemon world, it's just accepted. This is what you do. The Pokemon want to fight each other. It's weird. Like, and they're all sentient. Like they can talk and they all have thought processes and whatnot. And so it's like other people just wanting to fight each. It's weird, man. But yeah, a rat with a taser strapped to its back. I like that as well. Good. Hey, Fox. We were just mentioning the fact that in the Pokemon universe, nobody really talks about the fact that they're just making animals fight each other. So
yeah, it's just a fun world where the main thrust of society and the economy is animal fighting.
Right.
It's just a fun fantasy world.
It's fine. It just says you can get a rat with a taser strapped to its back. You know, just put a taser on its tail and just turn it on, let it whip it around.
Point.
There you go.
That's a good point. That'd be really fun to watch.
Pikachu. There you go, man.
And a turtle with a squirt gun.
Yeah, that works. A turtle with a fire hose strapped to its back.
Yeah,
Uh,
a little gecko with a lit like a flamethrower.
Wandering Knight compared the whole uh, Gran Turismo thing to Ender's Game, the whole simulation becoming reality type thing. That's
Yeah,
man, I loved that. It got me. That's one of the few things that like really got me was that.
I saw the twist of Ender's Game coming from a pretty far distance, so I was
Yeah,
like, oh, okay,
there's a
yeah,
couple of
sure.
people who have said that to me, and I'm like, oh, it got me. But on the flip side, I predicted Sixth Sense halfway through the movie, so I also
you,
get the.
you could say you had a sixth sense about it.
Nah, I just noticed that he never talks to anybody else in the movie. He only talks to the kid,
It's a
and
little
then
more obvious in that than other things like Fight Club or something.
it got to the point in which Bruce Willis and the mom were sitting in different chairs and not looking or talking to each other. And that was the point
Mhm.
when I leaned over to my friend and I said, Bruce Willis is a ghost, like in theater. But anyway, uh, Wandering Knight, pro power washing, maybe not all that different than the lumberjack games or construction workers that build a house the quickest kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah,
Lumberjack games are awesome.
they're super cool, and there are competitions of like, because to build sort of like a more ministries kind of house where it's basically basic electricity, basic
Sure,
walls,
yes,
basic
yeah,
roof. How
simplicity.
fast
Yeah.
can you do this? And there are competitions of like people who do this in like 3 hours or whatever. It's bonkers. Okay, into the topic itself. Gistic says, I think this, or I think it's part of culture, or I think it's part of a culture issues too. It's a culture
Like
issue, is what he's saying.
like within the Pokemon culture. Is that what
USA
we're
is
saying?
very anti-cheating / anti-hacking. Other
Oh,
countries cheating, hacking actually subscribe to the mentality of if you aren't cheating, you aren't trying. It's one reason I prefer region-locked multiplayer games. Keep in mind, I don't think cheating is morally wrong as long as it's accepted by all participating. But the
oh, well, sure.
conflict, yeah,
It's
then
not
it's not
cheating in
cheating.
that case.
Yeah,
Then it's just accepted rules.
yeah. But the conflict comes when the game maker says don't cheat, and any part of the group wants and tries to play that way and the other. I get what you're saying here, Gistic. I would strongly disagree on the USA is. I mean, the USA is anti-cheating, anti-hacking, but in
According to the Pokemon
the
stats.
Pokemon stats, English-speaking countries were by far the highest cheaters, like just by numbers at least. A huge amount.
Oh, some of them,
We
yeah.
English speaking cheaters were more than every other cheaters combined put together. So, and then I think that's the same as far as when you see like streamers and things like that with their aimbots and whatnot. Like it's just,
Mhm.
I think that there's plenty of cheating that goes on in the digital world in the US and whatnot.
Really, it just comes down to what people are accepting as
Yeah.
standard and acceptable, allowable.
He also says he likes your hacked versus non-hacked tournament idea.
Yeah, why not? I
So,
mean, it allows everybody to keep playing. You just have to have a standard of conduct.
right. Yeah. And make sure everybody's following the same standard. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. That's what we got. Fox, you got any final thoughts for everybody here? Okay, give us your final sending away thought.
Never put Twinkies on a pizza.
Hard disagree. So thanks for
It's the right
watching,
kind of
guys.
pizza, sure.
We really appreciate that you're here. Hey, if you want to continue the conversation, you can jump into our Discord community. We actually got Disconned. Hang on, let's try that again. Discord. What? Oh, I did it again.
Well, I thought disconned was like a term for like getting conned on Discord. Somebody came in and just sold us an MLM.
No, I hit the wrong button. So
Gotcha.
you can jump in there. We actually got a huge influx of people, which is super cool. So there's a lot of conversations going on. The server also just had kind of a makeover to help facilitate more conversation. So there's a lot going on in there right now. So we'd love it if you guys were to drop in there. But more importantly, we love it when you have a physical community. And so if you are somebody who does not have a physical community, that doesn't have a church to call home, you can follow that link that I just put into the chat there. And we would love to help plug you into a church. We love that each and every one of you guys were here today, but always remember that there's a church out there that would love it more if you were there. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Guy.